This is Empty the Bench with Tom Albano.
Okay, first it was back, and now it's back and ankle. Oh, okay, yeah.
Nick Morgasen.
I'm for the opinion that it should be public, because when there's instances of inappropriate relationships, sexual abuse, anything of that regard, you need to let the public know what's going on. Don't hide it.
And Nick Fodera.
About 30 seconds after I stopped talking, I was like, wow, he's being uncharacteristically non-hyperverbal right now. So he switched over to the tabs and he wasn't there. What the fuck happened?
Empty the Bench starts now.
Do not shit on my head and tell me it's chocolate frosting.
All I can say is that's completely inappropriate.
Petition to change BS to BF, so now it's bulk frosting.
Welcome to episode 155 of Empty the Bench on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. Nick Fodera, Johnny Montalbano, Nick Morgasen. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of technical issues. That's why Tom is not here.
Yeah, he's declared war on the internet, so we'll let you know how that goes.
You know who hasn't declared war? Aaron Judge.
Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about, so let's just dive right in. So an hour and a half before we press record on this podcast, he has finally done it. He hit his 62nd home run, and that means that Aaron Judge is now the single season home run king in the American League. And the American League is listed. It's existed for 120 years.
As Sterling put it, 120 years. John Sterling, the Yankees radio voice on WFAN, which, by the way, if you really want to see a fun video, go to Sterling Home Run Calls or WFAN's Twitter account. Just seeing him shake is funny.
And yeah, it is. And it was really kind of an out-of-body experience because it's like, as he hit it, I was shouting my lungs out. But in the back of my head, it was like, please don't end up in the outfielder's glove. Please don't let that happen.
Yeah, it was a crazy moment. The person who caught it, Corey Humans, was the guy's name. Who's now, what did you say he was, Nick? He was an investment?
He was a vice president at Fisher Investments, which is a huge investment firm. So
not anymore.
Yeah, the rich have gotten richer.
Yeah, just a truly incredible moment. And sometimes timing is everything. And even in terms of the game itself, it looked like if you're watching game one of the doubleheader on Tuesday, Judge was really starting to press a little bit, and you could see the frustration in his face and stuff. And you really wonder that if Judge did not get it done on Tuesday, would he have played the last two games? Because
yes,
he had been playing so many straight, 50-something consecutive games, and for a team that's going to win that's won the AL East, that's going to be in the playoffs. Really, you just try and get a Judge a little bit of a break here. I know you're going to get it when the postseason starts because they don't have to play in the wild card round, but it's just, looked like he was pressing a bit, but when he got it right out of the way to lead off the second half of the doubleheader, and just truly an amazing moment when you think about it. With all the talk about baseball's history, all the problems that baseball has been dealing with here, that we could celebrate arguably the single best season, not only in New York baseball history, but one of, if not the best single seasons in Major League Baseball history.
Wait, you're saying that Rob Manfred didn't ruin something for a change?
I think we can forget about him for about 20 seconds.
He did not show his ugly head. Just once.
I will say this. I mean, if you want us to go that direction, I mean, it was because of Rob Manfred that we had this extra 3-game series against the Texas Rangers this week. If you think about it with the lockout and stuff, because originally the regular season was supposed to end on Sunday, and then this 3-game series got tacked on to it. So
look, if you're saying we shouldn't make fun of him anymore, I can't say.
No, I did not say that. No, I did not say that. I'm just saying we could celebrate at least an on-the-field accomplishment here that really, should be celebrated because it is a historical moment in baseball history.
Well, at least in my mind, three things come to the forefront. A, this is probably the biggest put up or shut up in a contract year, betting on yourself kind of contract year for an athlete in any sport ever. 2, you could tell how much he was pressing to try and get this. And 3, I think that this literally leaves no doubt as to who the American League MVP is. Triple Crown be damned, because he's probably not going to get that. But
I could care less about the Triple Crown, though. As long as he gets the MVP, that's all I care.
There's still going to be naysayers, though.
I swear, if I see one or a group of people show up with Shohei Ohtani, I will go and punch them in the face myself.
Nick, I think I would be shocked if you look at it, I would be shocked if Judge wins this award unanimously. I mean, he should win it unanimously. I think we're all in agreement there, but there's going to be a couple of voters that are going to come out and give first place votes for Shohei.
There's no point. Shohei has nowhere near the offensive numbers that Aaron Judge has.
No, I understand that. I think we're all in agreement about that, but there's going to be somebody. I mean, look, Derek Jeter was a unanimous Hall of Famer. I mean, he should have been. I mean, it just happens.
The one difference I'll say about the Hall of Fame voting is someone who was a younger voter who only covered high school baseball had a Hall of Fame vote. Yeah. Who probably didn't even know who Derek Jeter was.
Well, you know what it is? Well, a lot of that is if you're a sports writer, you're ancient. And it's like there's a virulent strain of contrarian dickheadism that kind of runs through a lot of the old school baseball writers that still have votes.
I'm praying to God Phil Mushnick doesn't have a Hall of Fame vote or an MVP vote.
Probably fucking does.
Yeah, I mean, I would just go out there and say that it's probably Judge will probably get at least 95% MVP vote, but it's not going to be unanimous. It's just the reality. He should win it unanimously, but at the same time, people like to look at. Unfortunately, the MVP award seems to, the definition of what an MVP is seems to have varied, and that's why really what it should be is if you want to make it MVP, you should just have two separate awards. You should have MVP and the MOP, the most outstanding player. And if you want to give Shohei Ohtani the most outstanding player, you know what? I could see that. But to me, value. How do you represent value on a team that is not a winning team? And I'm not taking anything away from Ohtani's season, but it's like, when A-Rod won the award in 2003 with the Texas Rangers, the Rangers were a last place team. And I get his year was phenomenal, but if he wants to win that award, then change the name of the award then.
I mean, I guess at that point in time, that was like way back in the early 2000s.
It was 2003, I want to say. It was actually the year, I think, before the Yankees traded for him.
I mean, he had an amazing year with the Rangers. I mean, he hit like 50 or close to 60 home runs. And I mean, I think the award was a little different back then, but I'm going to tell you right now, if I hear that Shohei Ohtani wins the awards, one, you're going to hear this.
Means Nick Morgasen has breached the perimeter and he's got a machete on him.
Well, let's not go that far. Careful what you say on here. But my point is that I swear if I find out that Shohei Ohtani wins this MVP award, you even said it yourself, Nick, you would throw something.
You know what? I would. Because you know what this also says to me? Not that baseball is as much about character anymore, because even that's kind of a fallacy, but what this has revealed to me, or revealed to what should be revealed to a lot of Yankee fans, almost as if you are seeing the light of God in front of you, is that he is the heir apparent. He is the guy that is to what Derek Jeter was to our generation. Aaron Judge is now that guy. There are a lot of people who didn't want to admit it because he's hurt a lot, or he hasn't won a ring yet, or this or that, whatever reason you want to conjure, but he is the guy. And that must come to bear in the contract negotiations. I know it's a little bit early to be talking about that, but again, he stays here. He has to stay here no matter what you pay him.
You're not giving him 10 years.
You have to eat that salary.
You can't give him 10 years. I'm sorry. You can't do it.
I'm sorry, but you have to eat that salary.
So, wait a minute. Nick, are you going to pay him $500 million?
Fucking A right, I would.
The Yankees won't.
The Yankees won't. I'll tell you that right now.
And here's, it's not Georgia's Yankees anymore. Number one, number two, they're tied into to Josh Donaldson for $23 million next year. They're tied into Giancarlo Stanton. They're tied into Garrett Cole, who's owed a lot of money. I mean, unfortunately, that's just the reality. You know, Severino and Hicks still have another $10+ million, I think, per year. You're probably not re-signing Anthony Rizzo. He's got an opt-out option after this season. He's probably going to opt out because of the year that he's had. So it's unfortunately, with all the other big contracts they have on the team, I think Judge is going to be the odd man out unless he takes some sort of discount. But the Yanks offered him 8 years and $230 million before opening day, and Judge gambled. And kudos to him; it looks like it's paid off.
Yeah,
so you're saying that they wouldn't go any further than what they already
no.
I think they put out their max offer already, and there will be a team out there that does go to the 9th or the 10th year. I think I've said it with you guys before, but I think somebody like the San Francisco Giants, which is close to his hometown, would do it. You gotta put the Mets in play as well with Steve Cohen.
Fucking shoot me!
I'm telling you right now.
But it's just I'm just putting out the reality that there is definitely a possibility that Judge is not coming back here after this season.
I'm telling you right now, if he ends up in a Met uniform, Yankee brass is going to lose their mind, and I'm talking about
Yankee fans.
I would even say the Red Sox could be a play for him because it's not like the Red Sox are rebuilding; they're just restructuring their team more than anything.
I don't agree. I think the Red Sox
are going to lose their mind.
Wait, Nick, hold on. I think the Red Sox are more in rebuild mode than we realize.
Yeah, but I mean, if they were in rebuild mode, then why would they brought in Eric Hosmer in the trade deadline?
I think they were just trying to move pieces out because they knew they had pieces to trade. But
they got to re-sign their own guys. So,
but here's the thing, Nick. If this goes to 10 years and we're talking about $40+ million a year, then you can forget about it. The Yankees are not going to pay it. They're just not going to. They already have 3 guys on the roster.
Then they are fucking stupid, and then Hal really doesn't deserve that last name.
Why?
I'm sorry, but you are the Steinbrenners. The Yankees print fucking money. Don't go over there and fucking cry poverty to me.
Nick.
You can't afford these guys.
Nick.
It's pretty obvious you can. And don't pull that contrarian bullshit with me, Morgasen.
Nick.
I know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Nick.
I've been watching this team for 25 years.
Nick.
I know what this team is capable of.
Nick, just because they can print money, think about the contracts. He's 31 years old. You're going to give him 10 years at $40+ million a year. You'll be lucky if you get 4 or 5 good years out of that contract.
Those good 4 or 5 good years. You take them.
So you're going to suffer for another 5 years after it when he can't play up to his ability anymore?
You gotta do it. This is the price of admission. This is what you pay. This is the game. This
Nick,
is what you do.
Nick, I'll give you another example.
That or you are not the Yankees anymore, and you don't deserve to wear that fucking uniform and have that fucking name on your letterhead.
Well, excuse me. I'll say it to Johnny about this because I've used this example before. Look at the Pujols contract. Okay, how many years and how much money did they have to eat off that contract? Does that ring a bell to you at all? That contract was awful.
Yeah, what the Angels did with Pujols was bad.
So that's my point.
And Nick, I understand where you're coming from. I get it. It's just the problem is, and it's really no fault of his own either, too. But Judge being on the north side of 30, that's part of the problem. And he came up late again, not his fault, not the Yankees' fault, just the reality of the situation. And you know what? Unfortunately, money isn't a factor here with the Yanks because this is not Georgia's team anymore. But at the same time, you can be annoyed because if money's not an issue, then why did they take on the Donaldson contract?
I think they were so desperate to get out from under Gary Sanchez.
Yeah, and you bring in somebody who in some ways is worse than him. I mean, you've upgraded a catcher defensively, but at the same time now you've got, an aging guy over at third base who, let's be honest, I mean, Donaldson's not, he can run into one every now and then, but he doesn't get on base. He doesn't drive guys in. It's just, it didn't work out. And it was really more of a stopgap measure at shortstop too until, maybe Volpe's up on this team next year.
I mean, Nick, I know you don't want to hear it, but the sons don't spend the money the way the father did. They just don't.
Sell the fucking team to somebody who does.
Nick, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You know this.
Again, you could make this argument about every fucking owner. Every owner that makes money hand over fist and then says, "Well, I guess the wallet's kind of tapped out, guys."
Are you just
No.
well? Let me just ask a question here and see if this is what you're theorizing.
I mean, the two of you are looking at me like I have two heads. I mean,
Well, no, Nick.
this should be standard operating procedure for every Yankee fan.
Nick, let me ask you a question. So, are you mad because there's another owner on the other side of town who's drunk spending money?
No, the more the merrier. But the Yankees should be doing it too.
No, but that's why you're mad, because Steve Cohen is going to spend money like a drunken sailor, and that's not the answer either.
What
It's
kind
not
of
about
Yankee
spending the
fan that
money,
you're
though.
rooting for that to happen? You sick bastard.
It's
What?
about spending it wisely, though.
Right, and Cohen is just gonna go out there and spend the money. He doesn't care because he's got so much money. He doesn't give a shit whether his money is spent.
Yeah, I also don't think it's in the Mets' best interest to be going out there and get Aaron Judge. I mean, they got it, not to focus on them, but they need more pieces than just one right fielder. But I mean, as far as the Yanks here go with Judge, I mean, this is now you got to go out there though, and you get into the playoffs starting next week in the division series, and you really now as the Yankees team now you got to see what you can do here as you head into the division series. Got to get healthy. Bullpen is a bit of a concern now because now Marinaccio is out. Chapman, who I know pitched a clean inning in game one, now he steps in and is going to be important. He probably shouldn't be on the postseason roster, but you don't really have any other options. But nevertheless, though, just an amazing moment, though, not only for the Yankees, but in baseball on Tuesday night with the AL's home run record being broken.
All right, so we'll come back to this. I'm sure there's going to be more talked about this after the season is over. More baseball news. Now, this one's not a surprise. We started to talk about this last week. Tony Larosa going back to retirement. Now, there's been a lot of issues, whether it's calling an intentional walk on a 1-2 count and then giving up a home run. That's another issue, or having issues with who was it? The shortstop for the White Sox.
Anderson, the shortstop. Yep.
And like getting mad that he's bat flipping and he thinks he's Bobby Cox and just gonna play the old-fashioned style of baseball, as Nick would say. Why did he come back in the first place? I don't understand.
I don't know. I just don't know.
Supposedly, he's very good friends with Jerry Reinsdorf, and that, I believe, had something to do with it.
I mean, Jerry Reinsdorf is what, 150 at this point?
I mean, considering he's had his fingers in a lot of pies in Chicago sports.
Yes.
Considering the Last Dance really doesn't paint a very flattering portrait of Mr. Jerry Reinsdorf in the first place, the fact that he owns the White Sox is more bad news than it is good news. But yeah, it's pretty obvious to see this was a bad move from Jump Street. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, Nick, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good.
I'm saying, no, I kind of fell for it because I thought the White Sox were the best team in this division going into the season.
So did I.
Talk about biggest upset probably between them and the Milwaukee Brewers for teams that were supposed to be competing on both sides and just completely shit the bed.
I mean, I would go further. I'd say it's a full-blown disappointment.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They shit the bed. Everyone said the White Sox were going to be one of the better teams in baseball until all their injuries happened.
I mean, if anything, I think this is, to say nothing of his personal problems, which really aren't really anybody's business because, alcoholism is not really something you should really joke about. I mean, but
he made it public by being on the traffic stop.
Exactly. Yes, he made it public. Yes, indeed he did. But the fact that this happened is really, it's the death knell for the grizzled disciplinarian kind of old school manager, because it just didn't work, because you got a young team conditioned to play the game a certain way. They perform best when they're playing the game a certain way, and you have stunted their growth as a team and as individual players by adhering to the hardest of hard-ass approaches.
Right, and like I said, he doesn't like bat flips. He doesn't like celebrations. That's the new age of baseball. And also, why would the White Sox bring back a manager who's not going to follow the new age analytics, which is where baseball is right now?
But where would you say somebody like Buck fits in?
Not in analytics, I'll tell you that.
I mean, but Buck, would you say Buck is the kind of old school manager that Larosa is?
I would say Buck. Well, Buck had the experience of being on young Orioles teams and managing them, so that's why I think he's a better manager than Tony La Russa will ever be.
Well, the second stint, the Tony La Russa 2.0, that thing.
No, I actually, believe it or not, I would take Buck over La Russa the first time.
Really? He won 2 championships with the Cardinals, and you wouldn't take that?
I think Tony La Russa is a hard ass and always has been.
Yeah, but my point being is there could be a right guy for a wrong team.
Now, for St. Louis's sake, when they won the World Series, those teams were pretty much all veterans in St. Louis. That's why I guess Tony La Russa really fit the bill, because when you have guys like Pujols and Yadier Molina and Jason Isringhausen and others, then he fits that team, because basically if he starts slapping people around, they're not going to care.
And think of all the crap that Tim Anderson had to take.
Well, as much as Tim Anderson was not at fault, Tim Anderson could have handled that situation better also. There's always two sides to a story.
What do you think, Johnny?
Well, I think you guys make good points, because La Russa seems to want to play 1990s baseball in 2022, and it just doesn't work.
Right.
That's part of it. And I think also another thing too is and every team deals with them, but the injuries that the White Sox had to deal with, they just never were able to overcome. And you look at what the Guardians were able to do, with Jose Ramirez, who if it wasn't for Aaron Judge, would probably be discussed as an MVP candidate this year there, because all the other talk was with the Minnesota Twins. They couldn't get it done. So I mean, the Guardians coming in and doing what they did, but yeah, it's just the manager did. It was like oil and water. It just didn't mix there in Chicago. And hopefully we wish the best for La Russa after the health episode that he's going through. But maybe the White Sox also did find their manager of the future in Miguel Cairo these last couple of weeks.
I'm a fan. I actually like Miguel Cairo. I used to like the way he played in a Yankee uniform way back when. And
oh, yeah.
kind of that utility guy that could play a bunch of infield positions and sometimes the outfield. And he wasn't your typical power hitter or average hitter, but he would get you important hits when necessary.
Absolutely, yeah.
But Tony La Russa should have never have come back. You saw what the Hall of Fame committee did when he came back, right?
Yeah, they threw a fit, didn't they?
Yeah, because he was already in the Hall of Fame. No one has ever come out of the Hall of Fame unretired to manage or play.
It's Michael Jordan coming back to play for the Washington Wizards all over again.
Yeah, but he wasn't officially in the Hall of Fame. He was just retired.
Yeah, and that was a difference too between Buck and La Russa. Buck, even though he hadn't managed in a while, always seemed to have been in baseball, whether it was the broadcast booth and doing those kind of things. So, and Buck's name has always been thrown around as a manager. I mean, when the Mets, when it was announced that the Mets hired him, I thought that was the perfect fit. The Mets needed a legitimate, capable, experienced manager at the helm, and he's been a big reason why they've been able to turn it around. Now, granted, it doesn't look like they're going to win the NL East here, but at the same time, I mean, you can't be disappointed with that first year over there in Queens.
Right. And I would say that, like you said, Buck is the perfect fit because they're kind of in between a young team and a veteran team. They have a little bit of both. Now, I don't understand bringing Alvarez up at a AAA. That was kind of confusing to me because, again, he's not postseason eligible. Why are you bringing him up on a roster when you're still competing for the division?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was a desperate move, Nick. I mean, I think the talk was, I thought I heard that he was actually driving down to Miami, and then he got turned around to go right back to Atlanta for that weekend series. But
oops.
Yeah, they were desperate because it's been documented since the trade deadline they were not able to get a power bat or an additional bat. The Dan Vogelbachs and the Darren Ruffs didn't really cut it. Tyler Naquin hasn't really cut it, so they were just trying to get something to sharpen up that lineup. I mean, the Met lineup's not terrible. It's just it doesn't have enough power in it. It's funny because we talk about teams that have too much power, and the Mets don't seem to have enough power. But I mean, even you look at that series against the Braves over the weekend, what really killed the Mets? It was home runs. The Braves hit the home runs, the Mets didn't. The Mets got a lot of singles and stuff, but the Mets pitching got burned by the home run ball.
Right. And just to put a bow on this, because everyone is going to be talking about this through the offseason. Now, obviously, we don't wish ill will on Tony Larosa. Hopefully his health is
Absolutely, yeah.
figured out. But
Yep.
but at the same time, he kind of turned himself into a meme.
He did, and it's just you never know when memes are going to be created. And I mean, you would probably have to write a 50-page explainer booklet and then give it to him just to explain what the concept of a meme is to a 70-year-old man in his 70s like Tony La Russa.
Well, I would sum up the Tony Larosa experience in one way.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, all right, we'll move on from baseball. Now it's time to get into some of the investigative stories. Now, Johnny, usually you don't do the show a lot. We get into more of the investigative end of the sports world.
Well, I mean, we touched on it on Game On Tuesday. I'm sure you're talking about Tua, right?
Well, Tua's the second, but first we'll get to part 2 of the Ime Udoka investigation. So, an investigation found Celtics coach Ime Udoka used crude language and dialogue with female subordinate prior to start of improper relationship. Now, there was a report that came out a few days ago that lawyers came out and started going through all of this paperwork, and they found all this stuff. I mean, I think the Celtics handled this better than the NBA did. The NBA didn't do anything at all.
They did, and you know what it is. But here's the question that keeps coming up. When did the Celtics know this? Because if they knew it before they said they did, and they told him to knock it off, and he didn't, that kind of changes the tenor of the story a little bit.
Well, according to reports, this apparently was known for quite a few months.
So, again, it kind of changes the tenor of the story, doesn't it?
Well, if you think about it, I mean, it was the reason why the NBA didn't have to do anything about it was because Celtics took the lead on this. That when this story first broke, I wanted to talk about this on my show, but of course then my voice just went, so I couldn't talk about it last week. But the fact that the Celtics actually took the lead and it was themselves that did this and not the NBA, I think speaks volumes. It almost was like they saved the NBA from having to do an investigation, and it was almost not comparing the two, but comparing it in terms of the teams. It was like what the Texans did with Deshaun Watson. By not having him active, they didn't need the NFL to go in right away and suspend it because they weren't keeping him active. It was the team there, and it's the team in this situation too. But yeah, I mean, it's not a surprise that after this happens, also that you're starting to find out more stuff that gets leaked out, like something like this, and it kind of makes sense when you look at the suspension and what the Celtics were doing.
Right. And just looking at this whole situation and seeing how Ime Udoka was basically, now people are saying, is it cheating? Is it not? He technically wasn't married, but he was in a long relationship with Nia Long, who, if you watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you know who that is. But apparently he had kids with her, and they were together for like 7-8 years.
So it's still philandering. It's just a different form of philandering.
But I'm tired of people saying, all right, so like, well, it was a consensual relationship. No, it's not. What do you mean it's a consensual relationship?
I mean, technically, since the person he was having an affair with was well aware and gave her consent, meaning they had sex and then she didn't say no.
That's cheating.
He wasn't unwilling. Yes, it's consensual, but it is still cheating. So, but again, it's still a boss-subordinate relationship. So you're still overstepping your bounds by, about 15 miles. So
I mean, but there were reports saying that they told him to knock it off multiple times, and he still did it.
But that's exactly the problem, isn't it? That he is the boss, and he had sex with one of his employees.
And I'm going to say
conflict of interest. That's what this is.
Well,
we've been saying.
It goes way beyond a conflict of interest, in my opinion. But at the same point, I would say because, and this is going to go back to something that you and I said on Beyond the Bench, which was they were talking about a bunch of names, a bunch of women who work in the organization for the Boston Celtics. And because they were not saying the name, every woman in the Celtics organization was being crushed because they wouldn't say who the name was.
So everybody automatically assumed that it was them.
Right. You're getting crushed. It's not fair. It's not right.
Again, but that's why it sucks, doesn't it? That's the reason why it sucks.
And like I said last week, if the NBA took charge of this and not the Boston Celtics, the NBA might have said, here's a half-year suspension, here's a couple weeks, pay the fine, and then we'll move on.
I mean, we talked a couple weeks ago. We talked for a couple weeks about Robert Sarver. So can you imagine what a league-led investigation would have ended up as?
Nick, you're exactly right. That's exactly where I was going to go at. You look at how the NBA botched that Robert Sarver thing, and Udoka would have at least been able to start this season. I mean, because how long would the investigation have taken too? That's
a long time.
Exactly. You would have been talking at least middle of the season probably before any sort of discipline gets handed down. And then what is the discipline?
And the rules need to change, where if you're being investigated, you can't be on the field or the court. I hate that when investigations are going on, the athlete or the coach is allowed to continue their job while the investigation was going on. If you're being investigated, something happened.
Well, I think that's just society. That's the innocent until proven guilty. I get where you're coming from with that, Nick, but unfortunately, that's just what we live in, times that we live in. Now,
excuse me, Sarver got 1 year and a $10 million fine. And then we found out that an investment bank, was that you, Nick, who said that an investment bank was taking over the sales part of this whole situation?
Yeah.
Baxter Holmes had reported that on Tuesday that the investment bank was looking into it, and then Woj added that this could be the Sun sale could be the largest amount of money for an owner of a team. And think about that. That's the Phoenix Suns we're talking about. Now, I know Phoenix is a great area. It's actually pretty good sports area. But if the Suns could draw that much money, just think about, some of these other teams, dare I say, like my New York Knicks. I mean,
well, the Knicks, excuse me, I've heard $6 billion for the Knicks, but that includes MSG, that includes everything else.
I mean, the Knicks are still, when you look at when the Forbes list comes out every year, are still one of the most valuable franchises in sports.
Well, we all know what the most valuable franchise in all of sports is.
Yeah.
And it's not an NBA team.
No, it's an NFL team. And you know what? Those two teams have a lot in common. They make a lot of money and they don't win. So,
which is funny because all they care is that they're lining their pockets. They don't care if they're winning.
Sure. I mean, Look at when you watch the Knicks games at MSG, and look, this is not a knock. This is just the reality, because I am a diehard Knicks fan. I am a Knicks fan before I root for any other team in any sport. Those seats that are in the front there, that's all corporate.
Of course it is.
It's mainly to mostly corporate.
That's every stadium in every league of every professional sport. You're no longer going to see fans sitting either in the front rows or in the boxes or the suites that are up above.
Except Spike Lee.
Well, Spike Lee's a celebrity, but
it's going to be the stadium's going to the arena's going to be completely empty except for him.
Hey, you know what? Look,
good.
We're doing this the right way, though. Just talk about on the court. Knicks are doing this the right way, though. They're rebuilding. They're finally starting to put some young players there together. They'll be a team to watch just to see the rebuilding stuff. So they're finally doing this the right way. It just took them 15 years. I know, Nick, you and Fodera, you and I disagree on the whole Donovan Mitchell trade stuff, but I mean the Knicks are rebuilding. This had to start 15 years ago. That was the problem.
Right, and
the thing is that they've been rebuilding for 15 years.
So no, but they haven't been doing it the right way, though. This is finally the right way. The problem is they're doing it now when the Eastern Conference is as loaded as it's ever been before.
So there'll always be somebody else in the way. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no.
And the thing is, though, too, even if Donovan Mitchell was on the Knicks, and look, I was pushing for the trade for the longest time until I heard that they wanted, three of their top players and draft picks. Then I was like, you know what, that's fine. Even if Donovan Mitchell was a Knick, I think their ceiling would have been maybe the top spot in the play-in tournament. Just because
I agree.
Because the East is that good. I mean, I could list off 6-7 teams right now that would have been better than the Knicks, even with Donovan Mitchell.
I mean, unfortunately, Nick, like Johnny said, you need two All-Stars. I've said that for many times. You need two All-Stars to compete. in today's NBA now. The big three is starting to fade because it's not working as well as it once did.
It's not.
But Donovan Mitchell, like Johnny said, would have only got them to the play-in tournament. And who knows if they would have won. And then there would have been scrutiny on top of that if they didn't win. So, to be honest, it's all about value. It's all about what you can bring in. The Jazz absolutely fleeced the Cavs in every way, shape, or form between draft picks and young players. So
he almost made more sense though for the Cavs to win now than he would have for the Knicks to win now. If you're going for a win, if you're going for a win now mentality, the Cavaliers right now are a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference. The Knicks would have still have been a top maybe 7 if I'm pushing it.
Maybe. But just to kind of circle back here.
I'm sorry. I'm getting excited as I see the Knicks. As I just watch the Knicks on Tuesday night play their first preseason game. It starts getting me a little bit excited.
Oh, no. You're talking to someone who can't wait for the NBA to be back so I can see all the dumb headlines like Russell Westbrook where he's going to end up being traded. But the way this investigation goes, I don't know why they're still investigating. Technically, they gave him a suspension. Are they going to go back and give him more? Are they going to go and fire him? That's the bizarre thing here. So you suspended him for a year, but you didn't fire him? What's that all about?
I don't know. I can honestly say I don't know.
Probably because it's not criminal. That could be why it's not a fireable offense.
But I'm saying is, are they going to bring him back in after a year and say it's your team again, just like that?
It's hard to see them doing that. It really is. If he was fired, I would go out on a limb and say there would be another team that would bring him in, maybe not as a head coach, but as like an assistant or something.
Go ask Jason Kidd.
Well, Kidd coached.
He wasn't a very good coach, and he had his personal issues.
You could talk to Derek Fisher about it. He knows.
Well, Derek Fisher's just a moron. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, the Knicks are still, I think, paying Derek Fisher's contract off, by the way.
Them and the now the LA Sparks or the Los Angeles organization are still paying him off as well. But this investigation is a mess. And when you have assholes like Stephen A. Smith completely shitting all over this story and saying that, well, I don't think he should be suspended. He should be fired or he should not be suspended at all.
Oh, my God. It sounds just like him.
Oh, God.
It's blasphemous what they're doing to Ime Udoka.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Now go sit in the corner.
All right, let's move on to the other investigative story. Now, this is the one everyone is talking about. So the NFL and the NFLPA agreed to modify concussion protocol after Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa was stretchered out on Thursday Night Football. Now, this was against the Bengals, and this was just bizarre. I mean, so we saw in the week before against the Bills that he got completely taken out by a linebacker on the Bills. Got flagged for it. Flagged for unnecessary roughness. Tries to get up, and it looks like he's going through the drunken Olympics trying to walk around.
And it's, are you talking about that Sunday or are you talking about the Thursday game?
No, first the Sunday game. Then they brought him back on the short week.
Because the Sunday game was apparently chalked up to a back injury, quote unquote. And I'm using the quote unquote in the heaviest possible indication I can. Because you know what? You know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's tell them about what happened on Tuesday if they didn't get a chance.
Well, which part are you talking about?
What the Thursday? Was it Tuesday or was it Thursday Night Football that he got trucked again?
Thursday.
Well, no, that was Thursday.
The Thursday night game.
But wait, you're jumping ahead. So what happened on Sunday night is he gets hit. He's wobbling all around. They take him off the field. He goes into to be checked. Like, oh, well, it's a back injury. And then he comes back out and finishes the game, which is bizarre because it looked like he couldn't walk. Then, who's the coach there again? McDaniel?
Mike McDaniel.
Yeah.
So Mike McDaniel comes out after the game and says, this wasn't a head injury. It was a back injury. It locked up. Strange, right? How a head injury became a back injury.
Can make you fall to the ground and shake your head like you're clearing out the cobwebs.
I mean, the thing was though, wasn't Tua in concussion protocol during on Sunday, the game on Sunday against Buffalo?
He got cleared.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Cleared.
He has to get cleared before he goes back in there. So that would have to be a doctor's thing first. That would not be on the coach.
Well, so I'm glad you brought that one up. So after that whole incident happened and he was allowed back into the game, they fired the independent doctor.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think he was even a doctor.
Yes, he was. It's a doctor that both sides, the NFL and the NFLPA, agreed to do the analysis on concussions.
Well, you know what? Apparently he didn't do something right.
Well, he gave the test. Yeah. He gave the test, and then he said Tua passed, and that's why he was able to go back in the game.
Yeah, that's why it's hard really to put Mike McDaniel at fault, really, because if the doctors are telling him that he's cleared, then McDaniel's just probably going to take his word for it.
Yeah, but at the same time, you kind of have to look at your player and be like, you kind of fell over on the ground and you can't stand. How about you don't play?
I'm sorry, but I got to disagree with you on that one, Johnny, because you know what? We know what Tua's answer would be. Of course, because these athletes are conditioned to say, I'm fine. You want to stop him, you got to shoot him.
Athletes, you have to stop the athletes from themselves.
Yeah. You would have to pull a gun on him in order to get him to stop. But again, a part of working football, being a head coach, is you have to save these players from themselves sometimes.
No,
that's something
all
that's unique to Tua. So I absolutely can blame Mike
McDaniel.
I almost said Mike McCarthy, but Mike McDaniel.
Well, that would be a legitimate case. You could blame McCarthy for something like that. That's fair. But McDaniel, I don't know, because McDaniel's probably they're more he's focusing on the game while Tua's back in the blue medical tent getting checked out there. So
I actually think he went in the locker room, if I'm not mistaken. I think
probably, because I think. And I don't know if this is during the game or this is after the game, but there's a 5-step process that you have to go through in order to clear the protocol to, be able to play. And again, you might want to correct me on this. I don't know if that's either during the game or
during the game
or after the game, that you have to clear 5 steps in order to return.
Well, no, they gave him the protocol at halftime.
Yeah.
And apparently the independent doctor said that he passed. But apparently, he did not pass.
Yeah, because if he gets fired, then that goes to show you that maybe that he either missed a step or something. Because I mean, that's starting to make sense now that the doctor gets fired in this spot. But
a lot of heads should have rolled because of this, especially, and it became more apparent when I can't even look at that footage on Thursday night because it's horrifying.
No, it was frightening Thursday. There's no question. I mean, first off, the whiplash, the actual hit itself was frightening, even if anybody was 100% to begin with, and then him being stretched out like that was just, your heart kind of stopped when you saw that.
Let's put it this way: if you go look at the thumbnail that was created for Game On, you could see how Tua was laying on the ground, basically lights out. That's the best way I could really put it. I mean, and I just looked it up. So the 5-step process for the NFL concussion protocol: step 1, back to regular activities; step 2, light aerobic activity; step 3, moderate activity; step 4, heavy non-contact activity; and step 5, practice of full contact.
Yeah.
So there's no way he shouldn't have played. He should have been out as soon as he got hit, and then he should have not played on the short week.
That's the only way. That's the only way I can think of it. That's really the only way you can cut it, because there has to be a systemic failure for that, or literally everybody important making the important decisions on the team just turning this way simultaneously, just turning their backs.
Yeah. And Tua's already been ruled out for the Week 5 game Sunday against the Jets. But you know what my problem with all this, and I know that Tua was meeting with the investigators on Tuesday.
Both sides.
Yeah. But my problem, like when they're talking about they're going to modify this protocol, is it speaks once again to something the NFL here with being reactive and not proactive. Concussions have been one of the major problems in this league. We've always heard about CTE. If you think about it with Junior Seau and stuff. And again, this to me is just another instance of the NFL being reactive and not proactive. And they've done this now with numerous things. And I mean, I appreciate them that they're finally starting to modify this protocol, especially now with an extra game, and also with the fact that the way these teams practice now, I think doesn't help either. But yeah, it's just.
But why did it take? And this happens in the NFL all the time, and it happens in all professional sports. Why does it take one dangerous incident to change the rules?
Because it's, again, the case of being reactive and not proactive. Think about, and again, this is something totally different, but this is another perfect example with the NFL. In that playoff game with the Rams and the Saints, when they had that non-pass interference call that should have been, they decided the next year to challenge pass interference. Which
was ridiculous. They overreacted.
Exactly. They either overreacted, but they were also being reactive and not proactive.
They should have.
Proactive would have been letting it not happen. Reactive was, we have to do something to make sure we get the pass interference calls.
Well, that's how the NFL reacts to everything. They're always reactive to everything.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Always a day late and $1 short.
And I think there's an accurate banner for this. And because Roger Goodell strikes again, let's change the concussion protocol after Tua almost could have died from 2 concussions.
I mean, the lucky they did. It's comical at this point because it's like, how many anvils have to hit you on the head? Or, you know what? A giant piano, like in the Wile E. Coyote cartoons. How many pianos have to hit you on the head before you realize things need to change?
And by the way, I have to give credit to Tom because he did that in his minute the other day, saying that this man had a concussion in a span, 2 concussions in the span of 4 days. That actually could kill you.
And when pro wrestlers and boxers, when they're the ones that are going, oh, God, then you know you got a problem.
I mean, I don't know if you saw it on Twitter. Also, there was this one doctor that came out and said before the game, like, that Tua better not be in this game or he might get hurt again.
Oh, the doctor that was talking about that they basically should be murder charges for
if he had died.
Talking about the same guy, the guy.
I don't know if it was that guy, but it was a professional doctor who has
neuroscientist. I think
that's it. Yes.
What's his name? Lebitard had him on.
Yeah, I think that's who it was. And he was basically saying that he better not see the field on Thursday. Well, and because he said he could get hurt again. Well, guess what? He got hurt again. Now, no one knows. Could that have been from prior situations that maybe his reactions were not 100%, and that's why he got hit like that? We don't know.
That's a question that should not have been answered.
What do you think, Johnny?
That's what's so frustrating about it. Because, look, I mean, why is it that every single time the NFL is in a pretty good spot with itself, it just continues to trip over its own dick without fail? Like, you could set your watch to their dick tripping. Because
they are invincible. Because we will all watch Thursday night between the Colts and the Broncos, and then we'll watch the games on Sunday. They've had, problems before, but, we're so starved for entertainment and distractions and stuff that we choose still to watch it.
Yeah, but at the same time, I know the NFL and Roger Goodell doesn't care about their athletes. They make it quite clear that they don't.
Well, adding the extra game, the way they changed practices, which has actually made this stuff even worse. It's a problem. But Tua did meet with the investigators. Maybe there'll be more that comes out about this. I think we don't really know everything just yet, but we're starting to get a little bit of an idea ourselves of what's going on with all this.
I just don't know. It's a bizarre situation where Tua is not being protected now. But I find it a little bit funny that the NFL and the NFLPA are now all of a sudden trying to work together on something when we've noticed that they can't work on a single thing, including COVID protocols.
I wouldn't trust them to order dinner at this point.
That's my point. So now all of a sudden, because Tua Tagovailoa is hurt and he could have died from 2 concussions, now the NFL and the NFLPA want to investigate and talk to him?
I mean, it's like the lazy security guards falling asleep while the jewelry store is being robbed.
Well, I mean, because dare you say, bring up CTE. You don't want to be going down that road again.
Well, I think, Johnny, you said it before, Junior Seau was one of those guys that they had no idea.
That was, I think, the first one that really started to change all this discussion about concussions and stuff. I mean, that
led to the lawsuit situation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was like the first one that really started to really talk about stuff like this.
I don't know. I mean, now that they're saying that the protocols are that if you're in concussion protocol, I think you have to miss a game now if you're technically in concussion protocol under the new rule.
I think it's if you're in protocol during the game, I think you have to miss the rest of the game now.
Well, and that's how it should be. If you have a concussion issue, you shouldn't be allowed to go back in the game.
Well, I think that's even saying if you're even if you're going into the tent or experiencing something along those lines, I think now it's taken a little bit of a more specific, dramatic, extra step to it now.
But here's the problem: if those are team employees, like the team doctors, couldn't they just lie and say that they have no concussions, just so they can get him back on the field?
I mean, they would.
I'm saying that could happen. Not that I'm saying it's the right thing or that they should do it,
but they would do it.
It's all about the Benjamins.
Always is with the NFL.
And that's my point. And that's why the NFL is going to struggle. That's why the NFL and the NFLPA don't like each other, even though they'll come out in a PR statement and say, we're working together with the concussion protocol, and we're going to make sure every single player is protected. What type of bullshit is Roger Goodell smelling?
I mean, it's his own. Actually, it's not bullshit. It's BF. Remember bull frosting?
Ugh.
Oh, right back to the intro.
All right. Well, we'll come back to this, I'm sure, over the coming weeks. All right, let's recap Week 4. So, a lot of interesting games over Week 4. Of course, I'm getting made fun of because the Jets somehow managed to pull out a win. We'll get to that game.
Because you don't know, you're dead inside and you don't know how to experience joy. Did I hit the nail on the head?
No, you're wrong, actually.
Nick, that's why they brought me on the show this week, because I'm trying to make Morgasen more optimistic about the Jets this year.
I mean, it's a circus. It's a circus attraction at this point. Step right up and see the amazing pessimistic Jets fan.
But I mean,
they could win the Super Bowl.
Well, no, I'm not saying Super Bowl, but I'm saying they're an improved team. I mean, look, they still got a lot of things they got to do, but I mean, what I've seen through 4 weeks, and I said this to Nick and Tom when we did the NFL preview show. I said that if everything worked out, the Jets can be better than the Patriots this year.
I wouldn't go that far.
Oh, I still would, as they trot out their Bailey Zappi out there last week.
We'll get to that too.
Yeah,
but
I don't want to get too far ahead. I'm sorry.
But let's not jump to conclusions and say things we don't mean when saying the Patriots that the Jets could be better than the Patriots this year.
I said that before the season started, and I still maintain that.
We'll see.
I mean, at this point, we're 4 weeks into the season at this point. Actually,
no, we're 5 weeks in.
5 weeks into the season. Sorry,
Week 5 coming up on starting Thursday.
I can't math right now. I'm sorry.
It goes by quick. It's all right.
But first of all, there are a couple questions that I want to ask, and I'll leave it as an open forum so you gentlemen can respond. What in the unholy fuck happened to the Rams?
They're injured. Matt Stafford looks hurt.
49ers defense is for real.
Yeah. Bosa looks amazing.
Do the Giants finally have a legitimate head coach?
Yes.
I think it's too early to tell. I think it's a good direction.
Dable's already done stuff that the last 3 or 4 coaches could not do.
Well,
and can somebody tell me what the hell a Bailey Zappi is?
Well, all right. So let's jump in and we'll quickly go through the games. So we'll start in ye old London, my favorite international game.
London.
Now, Minnesota and New Orleans, 9:30 a.m. game on NFL Network. Who ended up calling the game, Johnny? Do you know?
That was a Kevin Kugler, Mark Sanchez, Laura Oakman, and Jamie Erdahl special.
Yeesh.
Mark Sanchez, as in butt fumble Mark Sanchez?
That Mark Sanchez, yes.
Well, he's, and I can't believe I'm saying this.
They're actually pretty good together, I have to say.
The two of them, I have to agree with Johnny that
and
Mark.
They'll be back on the call for the London game on Sunday between the Giants and the Packers.
Maybe he just stayed there.
Yeah, I think they did because I saw a picture. I think Laura Oakman tweeted out the other day that they were still there.
I think they were doing Good Morning Football on the NFL Network there also.
Yes.
I mean, the fact that the Vikings won, but they only won because of a doink. So
a double doink.
Double doink.
A double doink, believe it or not. Yeah, but you know what? Like the Giants, I'll take my second team, my adopted second team, because my father. And you know what? I'm not complaining. I'm just sitting here with a stupid grin on my face, realizing that Kirk Cousins still sucks, but I'll take it.
I mean, I get it. And finally, Justin Jefferson decided to wake up and have a decent game for the first time all year. Dalvin Cook looked good, 76 rushing yards.
And they didn't. The Saints didn't miss Jameis Winston.
Well,
Jameis Winston is a joke.
You know what it is? I said this on my show, Game On. Winston's been hurting them because he's not healthy, and he's trying to be out there as a hero. If you remember that report from Jay Glazer on Fox before one of the games, he had 4 fractures in his back, and he's still out there playing. And look how ineffective that offense looks with him being out there. It's like he's trying to be a hero. So enter, either have Taysom Hill. I know he was hurt too, but Hill can be a versatile guy, or you do what they did on Sunday. You put in Andy Dalton, and they had a little bit of life. I mean, they only lost by 3. Of course, I had him at 3.5. The Vikings did.
I still think Andy Dalton's a serviceable quarterback that could start somewhere if he really got the right opportunity. But I like Taysom Hill too. I've always liked Taysom Hill. I think in that Wildcat, or they don't allow him to be a true quarterback. That's what I think is a mistake, in my opinion.
Well, I think it goes back, Nick, to that contract extension that he got and the language in that contract.
Oh, you're talking about the sliding scale contract?
Something like whatever it's called. I mean,
it ranged from like $30 million to $90 million based on how many different positions he played at. It was some ridiculous.
Why you would even make a contract like that is just like,
because he's such a utility guy that he could really play a lot of positions. So I guess they're basing it on how many positions and what he does.
Yeah,
they should just let him start. Let him start.
I mean, why not? I mean,
he's done so many things, including back to the time when he started backing up Drew Brees. I mean, I don't know. And Alvin Kamara didn't play, even though I think Alvin Kamara is starting to decline on a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had rib issues, didn't he? Also,
yeah, he did.
Yeah,
but it is what it is. The Saints lost on a double doink, and that's pretty much how that game goes.
Let's talk about the Jets now, shall we?
No, leave the Jets for a second. So Cleveland at Atlanta. Everyone was a little surprised that Atlanta came out and is actually playing halfway decent.
Well, I picked Atlanta to win in an upset special, but I will say that, to be fair, I thought they were the worst team in football, and maybe that'll still be the case. But 4 weeks in, they've been in pretty much every game so far through the first 4 weeks.
They're competing. I'm surprised with Mariota.
With Mariota, yeah. I mean, the talks have been about when is Desmond Ridder going to start, but Mariota's been all right. I mean, it does help also that you have the third best rusher in Cordell Patterson there now. Thing to watch though going forward though is he got put on the injured list, so he's going to be out the next 4 games at least. So
yeah, he was put on the IR officially.
Yeah, on IR, right? So that's going to be now more pressure on Mariota.
So I don't know. I'm a little surprised Cleveland is bad or as worse as I thought. I'm not surprised they lost.
Myles Garrett injury is going to be a big deal. They found out now it's like an AC shoulder sprain from the accident. So they're saying 2 to 4 weeks he's going to be out.
Cleveland's year is going to get thrown away again, unfortunately, and Cleveland fans are going to suffer all over again.
And even with Jacoby Brissett, who hasn't actually played that bad through the first 4 games, too.
I think Jacoby Brissett was just put in a bad spot. in general. A lot of pressure for someone who didn't deserve it.
Right.
All right, let's move on here. I almost said a certain R word for a certain team. Washington Commanders at the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Carson Wentz stinks. That's the best way I could really put it.
It's the Commanders, dude. That's pretty much all you got to say.
No, but he's like he keeps getting sacked. What do you have, 9 sacks in this game?
Well, was anybody expecting any different from them, though?
Offensive line's been awful there in Washington in the early going.
You're losing to a backup in Cooper Rush, which, by the way, I have to give Cooper Rush some credit. He's actually playing halfway decent considering all the pressure he's under.
But if you're not already starting to see, you're gonna see people that say he should start instead of Dak when Dak's
not going to happen.
No, it's not. I mean, he's going to start again on Sunday. Jerry Jones said that on Tuesday on 105.3 The Fan. But when Dak's eligible and ready to play, he's coming back.
They need him in the worst way.
Oh yeah, I'm saying that Dak absolutely should be the quarterback. But again, you're going to hear those voices.
It's never going to happen.
That's
Cowboys fans for you. They are fickle as hell.
And I'm sure they're probably quoting what I said after week 1, saying that they were done. And I'm eating my words on that because, to be fair, their offense still has some concerns, but that defense has been very, very good through the early going.
I think Cooper actually heard the bit I did last week about paying to use the crapper at AT&T Stadium.
I almost was going to use that in the intro. Almost.
But what's helped also is the throws that he's making. His receivers are also doing a lot, helping him out because they got a lot of yards after the catch.
Right, which is impressive.
Throw that deep ball. I mean, he could just do short, quick slant passes, and then they could be running it out for good yardage.
We'll see. All right, the scoregami game: Seattle and Detroit, 48-45. Did anyone expect 93 points to be put up between these two teams?
No.
I mean, the not Seattle scoring 48. Now I know that the Lions defense has had trouble early going, but they also do score a lot. But Detroit was really banged up in this game.
They could have won this game, though.
They could have. I mean, Ahmad St. Brown not being there, though. No Swift. They're running back. But, I mean, Jared Goff did well. But I think the biggest surprise, if you want to talk about one of the biggest surprises in the early going, how about Geno Smith?
Oh,
77% completion percentage. I mean, 48 points in that game. I mean, going into the Denver game, Seattle puts up 48 points against the Lions, and going into the Raider game, the Broncos as a team put up 44 in the first 3 games.
Look, I know as Giant fans and as Jet fans, we all have different experiences with Geno. Actually, you know what? They're different experiences, but they're kind of similar.
Nah, I wouldn't say that.
Let's give Geno credit where credit is due. I mean,
credit for what?
He's done well.
You're playing on a team that's mediocre at best.
But you know what? He's done well. There's something to be said about good enough quarterbacks.
Well,
not great, not excellent, but good enough quarterbacks.
I mean, it also helps that you have a wide receiver. Jets. It would help to have a wide receiver that actually mattered, like a Lockett, or to have a running back like Rashard Penny.
DK Metcalf, yeah.
DK Metcalf, who decided to use the truck or whatever because he didn't want to do the clinching dance before going to the bathroom.
Look, well, obviously you've never stared down the barrel of a very urgent dump, so I wouldn't exactly look to you as the expert in those things. But believe me, I've had my fair share. And if I could have used, and you know what, I don't blame him for using a golf cart. When you gotta go, it's urgent.
Anyway, scoregami game, as I said, but I've never seen that score. All right, let's see what else we got. Tennessee and Indianapolis. This was a crapshoot of a crapshoot.
Speaking of crap.
Yeah, really. Matt Ryan threw for 356 yards and still lost.
I mean, that's kind of what the Falcons are nowadays.
Not Falcons, Colts.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I keep 28-3 is still fresh in my mind. So every time I think of Matt Ryan, I just have that score in my head. So I'm sorry. But
I mean,
again,
both teams stink. Let's just admit it.
I would have expected better out of the Titans. We all did.
No, I didn't.
I didn't.
I don't think the Titans are that good. They're the only thing they've got that's in their favor is the division.
I was expecting the
You
Colts
don't
to
think
be
Derrick
better.
Henry preseason? You don't think that Derrick Henry? You could have bet it would have been a good bet to place on Derrick Henry.
See, the problem is, Nick, is that offensive line for the Titans is awful, so he has to go to the outside both times. And I think Ryan Tannehill, whether it's his fault or not, was going to be in for a rough year. I mean, I know they've got they don't really have that much receiving wise, except the kid Traylon Burks that they drafted. They did lose a lot in the off season. I don't think Tennessee's going to be the kind of team that's going to really put up a lot of points. I mean, I know they did kind of in this game, but
You lost A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown's a loss. But again, the thing that the Titans and the Colts do have in their favor is you're looking at a division now here in the AFC South where it's not a far reach to say 7 wins is going to win the division.
I mean, who thinks the Jaguars might actually take this division?
I think they've got a chance.
But, all right, let's move along here. All right, we'll talk about one side of New York. Chicago at the Giants. Go ahead. Say I should eat my words because I took the Bears plus the points.
You got a fork on you
No, sorry.
or a spoon?
Nope, sorry.
You know what? Eat your words with your hands. I don't care, but eat them because you eat your words. You know what? Look, I'm not saying that you should be praising, worshiping the ground that the Jets walk on, because that's obviously not the case. But considering what the Jets could have been and what they are now, same way with the Giants.
All I could say is the Giants, in my opinion, should still not be 3-1.
Well, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's not like college sports where 3-1, how you get to 3-1 means something. I mean, look, you're 3-1, you're 3-1, and you've seen some good things with this team. I mean,
I'll give you credit on one front. Saquon Barkley looked really good.
Yeah, Barkley's looks like the Barkley when they drafted him in his rookie year. There's no doubt he's been healthy.
146 yards.
Yeah, that offensive line with Evan Neal and Andrew Thomas has been very, very good so far in the early going. Daniel Jones, he hasn't been dynamite, but when he's needed to make the plays, he has. He's been good enough to win games for the Giants in the early going. Of course, now he's dealing with a little bit of an ankle sprain, which is a little bit concerning going into London, but nevertheless, he's done enough for the Giants to win games. Defensively, considering that they haven't been at full strength this year, their defense has actually been very, very good. So, look, I think they did what they needed to do. You beat up on the bad teams. You got a good challenging next 4 weeks coming up here where I would sign up for 2-2 right now. But there's definitely some things you've got to like here in the early going. And there's no question that the coaching does make a difference. Brian Dable's been excellent so far through the first 4 weeks. Wink Martindale, not the game show host, the defensive coordinator, has been absolutely fantastic. The game show host is a great guy too. But Martindale's been great on defense. He's been providing stuff that the Giants needed to do for a while now. So Giants taking care of business. Even the game they lost against the Cowboys, you know what? They were in it. They just didn't have the talent level to compete with Dallas. But you
can even see the difference in the way special teams works.
Absolutely.
It's night and day.
How many times have we talked about how bad special teams have been with the Giants for years now? So
because it's not one of the things you notice until they screw up so badly that you're forced to notice.
Yeah, but I mean the special teams have been excellent too. Whether it's been Graham Gano or even the punting unit or the return unit. I mean it's a lot of good things. Again, only 4 weeks, but look, 3-1. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you do it. There's been a lot of good things here. There's some things that do need work though too at the same time, but 3-1 is 3-1. I'll take 10 wins like this because you know what? That'll get you in. Now, I'm just saying I don't think they're going to win 10 games this year. I think they're going to go through a little bit of a stretch here. If you look at their next 4 games, they actually are very challenging. But I think you've got to be happy through the first 4 weeks here with Big Blue. Look, we're going to October and we're talking about relevant football with both New York teams.
Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts.
Nothing. That's not nothing.
We'll see how long that lasts.
All right.
We'll try to quickly go through the rest of these.
Yeah.
So Jacksonville, Philadelphia, which was probably one of the better games of the week, in my opinion. Philadelphia is just unbelievable. They're the best team in football right now.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, I mean, unreal.
You know what? Let me eat my words because I was the one. I was one of the ones who didn't think that Jalen Hurts was all that good, and now I'm eating crow like it's the fourth meal of the day. But you know what? I stand corrected. That's what I'll say. I stand corrected.
I mean, it is what it is. All right, Jets, Pittsburgh Steelers. Somehow the Steelers managed to blow this game in every way, shape, or form.
I mean, people really seemed excited when Mitch Trubisky left the game, and what's his name came in.
What, Kenny Pickett?
Yeah,
the Pittsburgh bred Kenny Pickett?
And they pick him off twice too?
Well, he had 2 touchdowns also.
He had 2 touchdowns. So you know what? You got yourself something to electrify the crowd, but still you lost to the Jets.
Well, he made a terrible throw like across the field, which ended up being an interception, which probably cost the Steelers the game.
Which is that's one thing that should be apparent to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It ain't Ben Roethlisberger anymore. No, your quarterback is not going to be riding in on a white horse to save your ass.
And they missed T.J. Watt there in the worst way. That's for sure on the defensive side, but also on the as far as the Jets go, Zach Wilson played well. I mean, in the fourth quarter, he really he played great. And Breece Hall, I thought this was a great spot for him to go off for a little bit, and he did against that Steeler run defense. And look, the Jets, rallied late like they did against the Browns. And again, you know what? Win is a win, and there are some good things that you like. There's some things that need improvement, but I think 2-2, the way they've been so far, I think you got to take it.
All right. Buffalo and Baltimore. Everyone picked that as like their circle game when they looked at the schedule for week 4. Buffalo somehow, for the first time in a long time, won a close game.
Yeah. The only thing that everybody's talking about is the coaching from John Harbaugh there with the Ravens. How do you not kick that field goal in that spot, especially with arguably the best field goal kicker in the sport, to go up instead of try and go for it there. And the Ravens, just here's a stat that you just need to know. From 96 to 21, the Ravens were 103 in games where they had a 17-point lead. In 2022, they're 1-2.
I mean,
yeah, you kind of screwed yourself with that one.
Yeah. All right. We'll quickly move through the rest. Chargers, Texans. No one's really surprised by the outcome of that game.
Nope.
Justin Herbert looks hurt though. Like, does anyone care?
I mean, you're about to care if he keeps playing hurt like this. You're not going to play the Texans every week.
It's a good point. Also, Arizona and Carolina. Baker Mayfield just looks terrible.
Oh, this was a tough watch. I was watching it down here, and it was hard to watch. The problem is, though, they don't really have many other options right now. They're still waiting for Sam Darnold to get healthy, but he's still not close to.
Oh God! Don't say that name to me, please.
Well, you got somebody right now in Baker who I thought was going to give Carolina 8 wins this year. And speaking of somebody eating their words there, and he's 31st in the league in completion percentage.
I can't imagine. Can you imagine like what the NFL, the Carolina brass is thinking right now? Oh, I have Baker Mayfield. Oh, wait, my backup, Sam Darnold, is not working, so I have to stick with Baker Mayfield. Ah!
You thought he was going to give you 8 wins, but it's actually 8 wins, ATE. He's going to eat his wins.
Maybe a win if I'm lucky.
A win.
Yeah, A. Cam Newton on line 3, please. Third tour duty there.
I would so laugh. Like, we could bring him in a costume, and he would play better than Baker Mayfield.
Giants might be calling him if the way their quarterback situation might be going next week.
I would not say no to that. Believe me.
So maybe Jake Fromm or AJ McCarron.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You had to remind me of those guys?
What, Jake from State Farm?
Jake from State Farm, that's right.
Oh, God. I'm convinced that Jake Fromm is some kind of weird simulation. Like, it's the Mandela effect. And no, you can't tell me that there actually is a quarterback with the name of Jake Fromm. That has to be somebody in disguise.
He's a real guy.
Just wait till we get to New England. But actually, you know what? Let's talk about New England now. So the Patriots at Green Bay, third string quarterback, keeps this game, goes into overtime. I kind of got burned out big time, taking that as a lock.
What the hell is Bailey's app?
Yeah, exactly. Do you have that on? Do you have that on your tote board? Like who that is? Like,
I mean, it's a you're gonna have Patriots fans debating on how to spell his name for I don't know how to pronounce his name for I don't know how long.
It's Zappy.
It's Zappy, yeah.
Oh.
And actually, technically, he was the fourth string quarterback. If you heard what they said during the telecast, that Jacoby Myers was not available.
Well, I mean, he didn't play that bad. What was he? 10 for 16 for 99 for 10 for 16, 99 yards. Was not
You would have better luck teaching Jacoby Ellsbury how to play football.
If you can get on the field.
Oh God!
I'm trying to look up the statistics as we're talking. Let me see if I can find them.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was doing my pick for that game, I was like, wow. I mean, I know it was Brian Hoyer at the time, but Green Bay through the early going here has not really blown anybody out.
So 10 for 15, 99 yards, and a touchdown.
I mean, it's not terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's last notice, third string quarterback.
No practice, probably didn't practice at all, had no prep time or anything, and you're going into play in Lambeau Field.
I mean, to keep that game close and go to overtime.
Yeah, and the game was only won in the last couple of seconds of overtime on a kick by Mason Crosby.
By the way, one of my favorite kickers of all time, Mason Crosby.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 2 more games and then we'll move on. Broncos, Raiders. What the hell is up with the Broncos?
I mean, wait, you mean that going to Denver with nobody else around you wasn't going to end in disaster, Russell? Why were you thinking that?
I mean, we're too busy worrying about his Subway commercials for the Russ sandwich or whatever it was called.
Hasn't been good so far. I mean,
wait, the sandwich or him?
I haven't tried the sandwich, so I can't try this. I can't comment on the sandwich because I haven't tried it yet. But yeah, Russell Wilson hasn't been great, and this was a matchup of two teams that I thought were going to be at the bottom there in that AFC West. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Denver between the coaching, the fact now that they're going to be down a bunch of guys going forward.
And talk about the Raiders being a massive disappointment, somehow managing to beat the Broncos. It's time for Hack to be out.
Yeah. Now, they might have – I mean, Broncos might get the right fit, though, Thursday night.
We'll see. And then, obviously, Kansas City, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is not really working out so well lately, is it?
No, I'd say it really isn't.
No. I mean, but, boy, Patrick Mahomes, some of the throws that he made on Sunday night were just unbelievable.
That basketball pass and also that spin move.
I mean, those are 2 top 10 plays of the year, and they happen in the same game. I
mean, it's also bad when Mr. Brady throws for 385 yards and you don't win.
No. Well, you can get by with that in New England or in his heydays, but now when he's, piecemealing that receiving core together now, and really, I mean, the defense for Tampa hasn't been that bad, but it definitely got exposed against Mahomes on Sunday.
It's a good point. And then, obviously, Los Angeles at the Niners. The Rams are in trouble. Big time.
Deebo Samuel only seems to wake up when he's playing the Rams, but you know what?
Deebo's been good, though. Deebo's been good.
Deebo Samuel is still the shit. I'm sorry. If I could put that on a T-shirt, I would. Deebo Samuel still is the shit.
I was going to say, Deebo I think is leading the league in yards after catch, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he's right up there, yeah. There'd be 2 things I'd take away from this game. Number one, we've talked about the Bengals having a Super Bowl hangover for losing, but I think the Rams have a Super Bowl hangover from the championship. I mean, Whitworth not being there, it seems like they miss him. Cooper Kupp seems to be the only guy that gets targeted in these games because that's really all they have right there on the offense. And as far as the 49ers go, definitely gotten a jolt since Jimmy G's gone back under center, and that defense is so good. It's unbelievable.
I think the Niners are going to be more of a competition than people realize. I think with Trey Lance, unfortunately, being out for the year and Jimmy G, that offense is more of a throw-style offense than a running offense. And I think that was the problem because they were trying to basically force rushing Trey Lance down people's throats, which was not working because they would just stack the box, and that was the end of the play.
Yeah, agree with
that. All right, so that's the end of Week 4 recap. We'll run through some quick, not so interesting headlines, but are bizarre anyway. Tom Brady and Gisele Bundchen hiring divorce lawyers.
This was rumored, but you know what? It's amazing to watch the man blow up a second marriage just because he had to go playing and he had to, for the honor of going 8-9. It's fantastic.
Well, in honor of Johnny being here.
51 years and going strong, by the way. But yeah, so it's nice to see that Giselle's going to join Eli and Foles as being the only people.
I did see that on Twitter.
Yeah, I have to give Twitter credit. Whoever's been posting that, I know a couple of people posted that, but I had to share that.
That was great.
0 for 2 in the Super Bowl against the Giants and 0 for 2 in lasting marriage.
Ouch! Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we can tell Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady to do something else as well.
RELAX.
I mean, and by the way, of all places to report this story, page 6.
They usually get it first, and they're basically a tabloid rag, but tabloid rags can be right.
I'm surprised it wasn't TMZ.
I was going to say if TMZ TMZ will announce when it's actually when it's gone. You know that, and it'll lead every show.
I wonder if he has a prenup. You think he has a prenup?
Oh boy, because if he doesn't,
or do you think he's going to be a Jeff Bezos?
Oh, it's gonna be like a divorce settlement, and everything's gonna be public. And now we're gonna know all the old Tom Brady's sordid little details. And
actually, Bill Gates was the same way. Why do all these rich people not have prenups?
Why do all these rich people? Why did Tom Brady decide to come? You could have retired. You could have retired, walked off into the sunset as still the GOAT because nobody's gonna catch you. And you could have just been happy with your wife, but no, you had to go and prove that I'm Mr. Competitor. I'm a manly man. I brush my teeth with wire.
I was going to say, he proved himself when he won the first Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. Okay? He proved himself. He won without Belichick and the Patriots. But that's when he should have walked away.
But it wasn't good enough, was it?
Well, because the man has such a competitive... I don't know what's the best word to describe.
Edge.
Yeah, that he just will not quit. I mean, the man's 45 years old, for crying out loud.
Compulsion, obsession, filing cabinet shoved up his ass. Any one of these is a perfectly valid explanation as to why Tom Brady is the way he is.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just we're not surprised. We heard these rumors for weeks that they were struggling and having issues. I mean,
it's been rumbled for a while now. Yep.
Funny.
All right, 2 other weird headlines. I don't know how to explain this one at all, but Antonio Brown exposes self in a Dubai hotel pool. Now, I jokingly said I was going to make a picture show up, but I think that's too inappropriate for every podcast and TV show, so social media took care of it instead.
Was it a woman he was exposing himself to?
Well, wait a minute. Before you go there was a picture from I think it was either the Daily News or the New York Post that put a story. He was basically laying in a pool with naked, and basically, let's just say doing a certain motion in a pool.
Okay, so what he committed was I wouldn't
public indecency.
It's indecent exposure. So
either indecent exposure or public indecency. It's one of the two.
I mean, people are being kind of funny about it, but
it's really not funny. It's
really not funny. I mean, look, this is a golden opportunity for me to make a dick joke, at least one. But you know what? There's certain things that are just not. It's not funny what he did. I'm seriously. If it was in front of anybody else. He was just by himself.
Did you see the RG3 tweet?
Well, yeah, that was funny. All right, you know what? I'll give RG3 the benefit of the doubt. He can make that joke, but I'm not going to.
I don't know. What do you think, Johnny? I think he's just gone off the deep end.
Antonio Brown's lost it for years now. There's not much else that I need to add to this except, look at the last 2 things we've really spoken about him has been this and him taking off his shirt at MetLife Stadium and walking off the field. I mean, what else does there need to be said?
Mission accomplished?
I mean,
I don't know, but that was bad.
You know, not to try and be a reach in saying this, but you almost wonder if something happened with him with all the hits he was taking that he's become this crazy.
I mean, could he have CTE
it's not.
issue?
Look, it's not criminal stuff that he's doing. It's just weird, dumb stuff.
Well, technically, what he did was criminal in that pool.
Technically, what he did was criminal, and it's a creepy ass thing to do. But again, he's not in the U.S., so
he's in Dubai. When you're outside the country, the rules don't apply. Apparently,
let me ask you this: what is he doing in Dubai in the first place? Is it just like a vacation? Like, is he just being there, or like was he? I think
he just doesn't give. I don't think he gives a crap. I think he just does what he wants.
Well, we know that, yeah. But I mean, I was wondering if he was there on some sort of like function or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
He's rich enough to do it, so he does it.
I mean, what was it, that Uber driver that he made go viral also for picking him up?
I do remember that. Yeah, that was in the Jet game. Yep.
I just I don't know where to go with this story. It's bizarre. Antonio Brown should be banned from the NFL and never be allowed back in. That's just my opinion on the matter.
I think they already locked the door behind him, so I don't think you need to worry about that.
Yeah, I don't, even as desperate as some teams are for receivers, I don't think he's going to be right up there.
I don't think he's the first call. Let's put it that way.
I think he's probably the 37th of 36 people.
Right. All right. And then another unfortunate story. A fan dies at the Steelers game after falling on an escalator. I don't know the full details, but this is not the first time we've heard a story like this.
No, we've heard. I remember hearing multiple stories of people, going down escalators, like falling down escalators.
Why is it that there's? Well, first of all, why is it there's no protective not netting, but higher walls around an escalator?
Well,
because obviously, but this shit keeps happening, so it's got to be something that the NFL has to deal with.
I don't know if that's exactly the reason, though.
I would say, without even reading the story, the first thing I'd go to is alcohol.
I was going to say that's my guess. I don't know.
Usually, those kind of instances, and I think the other ones, if I remember correctly, I think there was ones that were happening at hockey games. These people at hockey games, I mean, they drink their butts off. I mean, it's nuts. I mean, so I would have to imagine that without really reading the full details of the article, that probably alcohol had a play in it.
So it says here, and I'm not going to read the name because I don't want to give attention to it, but he was a 27-year-old guy, fell from an escalator inside Aquashore Stadium. The fatal incident happened shortly after the Jets had defeated the Steelers. This is the identity was confirmed to the Post. Doesn't really say much. It just says he was in critical condition after he fell down the escalator.
And also, was this from the top, like from the very top on down, or half? I mean, I would imagine if you don't survive this kind of impact, I would imagine he probably fell from the top on down.
But this is not the first time. In July, a man fell from an escalator inside Lincoln Financial Field. Also
the NFL game, yeah.
So it's just
it's unfortunate.
And that was at Aquashore Stadium, right?
Aquashore Stadium.
Yeah.
I remember the stadium. Okay.
Not Heinz Field, Aquashore Stadium.
So it only took me till week 4 to get it, not week 17. Okay.
Hey, you're doing better than the Jets. Anyway. All right. Now let's move on. Now we're going to get closer to the games for week 5. But first, we're going to discuss the injury list. So a lot of injuries, a lot of big names. Tua Tagovailoa, Tyrod Taylor, Daniel Jones, basically all of the Giants' quarterback room, Joey Bosa, Myles Garrett, and so forth. These are pretty massive injuries.
These are pretty massive injuries, and they're going to have to figure out a way to get past it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, being the big-time Giant fan here, I'll say this. I mean, we know Tyrod Taylor's in concussion protocol. I would imagine he's not Trout. I already think he's been ruled out already. I mean, I'd be surprised he's flying to London. But the Daniel Jones thing, so the thing I read Tuesday morning was that he was dealing with it. They're calling it an ankle sprain. And, ankle sprains are tricky. We've heard that with running backs. It could be the high end. We don't know if it's the high end variety, which could be a multiple week kind of injury. something you've always been worried about with Jones has been his health. And, now that means you're going to be bringing up guys like Davis Webb. They've been working out. We've spoken about the names too. Jake from State Farm has been talked about. Even A.J. McCarron, the former Alabama quarterback, has been mentioned as well. But, yeah, I hate to say this. The way it's looking like right now, I think it's going to be Davis Webb probably for the Giants up there or over there in London on Sunday. Ankle sprains are tricky. And Joey Bosa, they're saying 8 to 10 weeks now for Bosa there with the Chargers. And then Myles Garrett, I spoke about with the AC joint sprain suffered in the car accident, out 2 to 4 weeks.
All right, so we went to the injury list, and Nick, it's time.
All right, so now we are going to the rapid rundown.
Wait,
So,
you know what that means? All right.
So we'll try to get through these as efficiently as we can. So what's first up on the deck?
All right, so first up is Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. Colts at Broncos. Broncos a 3-point favorite.
I'm going to take – this is pretty much a no-brainer. I'm taking the Broncos by that much because 3 sounds about right to me.
Yeah, even though with all the injuries that the Broncos are dealing with, the Colts are dealing with possibly Jonathan Taylor dealing with it. Speaking of an ankle sprain, then you're going to tell me that Matt Ryan has to throw the ball against that pass defense at a Mile High Stadium. No, give me the Broncos laying the 3 there.
Yeah, as much even when Matt Ryan throws 350 plus yards, they can't win. Take the money. You won't be sorry. Excuse me. All right, moving on to London. Ye old London. The Giants and the Packers travel to London. The Packers are an 8-point favorite.
Let me do the rest of this rundown in an offensive Cockney stereotype accent. Or I think that there's actually no. I fucking can't do that. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna say. Yeah, I'm picking the Packers for this one.
Johnny?
Yeah.
It's tricky because I don't know who's starting under center for the Giants. If Daniel Jones was there, I could take the Giants +8. I don't think they would win the game, but they would keep it close. But, that's a lot of points for the Packers to be laying here in this spot. But until I find out who the Giant quarterback's going to be, take the money. Give me the Packers -8.
Yeah, Daniel Jones has the leg injury. We don't know where that's all going to take place. Tyrod Taylor gets hurt. Then we find out Saquon is running the Wildcat as a third-string quarterback.
And
I want to be wrong about that, though.
I wouldn't be surprised when I do my picks on Friday that this line is almost nearing 10.
Yeah,
on quarterback situation. But in this spot, I would take the Packers laying the 8 there, Nick.
This is a game I was looking at for possible locks, but after what the Packers did last week, I'm a little concerned.
You can't trust them.
You wanted to burn that again, right?
So I'm 3-1 on the locks this week. I'm going to stay away from the Packers, but I'm going to say take the money. So, all right, moving on. Lions at the Patriots. Patriots are a 3-point favorite.
I am going to take the. It's Bailey Zappi, right? He's going to be starting.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
The Lions have done some impressive things, but it hasn't really translated to wins, has it? So you know what? I'm going to have to take the money on this one.
Really? Interesting, Johnny.
Yeah, I think the Patriots are one of the worst teams in the league. The Lions, while they only are 1-3 like the Patriots, at least have shown you the ability to score. You hope that they could get healthier on offense with hopefully, Mont St. Brown being back, maybe Swift. Maybe their offensive line comes back. But the line has shown me some things. I'd love for them to get an extra half a point here to make me feel a little bit more comfortable with saying this. But upset special, give me the Lions plus the 3 and even to win outright against New England.
Actually, Johnny, I'm with you. Just because the Patriots situation, quarterback situation, is a dump. You have no idea what you're going to get. It's a wild card. The Patriots offensive line is a wild card. You have no idea what you're going to get.
They might be. I'm sorry, Nick. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was going to say they might be able to put up some points in this game, New England, but I still don't think it'd be enough. They were able to put 26 against the Ravens, and the Ravens defense has been a struggle or in the early going too, and they might be able to put up some points, but I think the line's just more explosive.
I mean, as long as St. Brown is back, which is hopefully the goal, I think they'll win. They'll win. So I'm going to take the Lions plus the points. All right, moving on. The next game we are looking at is the Chargers at the Browns. The Chargers are a 3-point favorite.
And Justin Herbert is starting.
That's what it
Yes,
looks like, yes.
That's what it looks like. Yeah.
Even a diminished Justin Herbert, I think, can still win this game. So I'm going to take the money.
Yeah, they're going to. The thing you're going to notice is, the thing they'll tell you, West Coast teams traveling to the East Coast to play that early start time. I think you could throw that out the window. Ever since the COVID year in 2020, the records of those teams coming across the country and winning, I think they've actually won more than they've lost. I know the Browns have looked pretty good in the early going, but as of now, I would take the money with the Chargers laying the 3.
Yeah, I mean, even with a hurt Justin Herbert, hopefully they keep his health under watch. Even with those ribs, that's a tough injury for a quarterback. Is Keenan Allen healthy? I don't know. That's a big what if. But I'm going to take hurt Justin Herbert over a healthy Jacoby Brissett. So take the money. All right. Texans at the Jaguars. Jaguars are a 7-point favorite.
It's the battle of the crap versus the crap. And what is your pick? It's going to be crap. So you know what? I'll take the Jaguars, but I'm not taking that line.
I wouldn't say the Jaguars are crap. I really wouldn't. Would you, Johnny?
No, I wouldn't say the Jaguars are crap. And the Texans, they're not a good team, but they've been in almost every game this year. That's a pretty decent number. I'm almost tempted to take the Texans plus 7. Maybe I'd say the Jaguars will win, but the Texans have shown the ability to keep the games close, and I think they can do it in this spot.
I was tempted in this game. I mean, it's a good one for a lock. Again, I'm going to stay away from it. I still think they cover. I think the Jaguars are making it much harder in the AFC South. I think they have a chance to win this division now, the way a lot of teams are playing. But yeah, take the money. All right. Falcons at the Bucks. The Bucks are an 8.5-point favorite.
Yeah, take the money with this one.
Again, another interesting spot here because the Falcons have at least, they've shown you some things in these early goings. Now, the fact that you don't have Patterson there, though, is a big deal. I'm a little nervous to do this as of now, but I would take the Bucks minus 8.5, even with all their injury woes. I think the Patterson injury is pretty significant there on Atlanta's side.
I mean, Cordell Patterson is their offense. He literally can catch passes and run the football. He's literally that big type of utility guy. But the Bucks have a lot of injuries. Who knows if Godwin's healthy? Who knows if Julio Jones is healthy? This is a tough one. But for now, I think, like you said, Johnny, I'm gonna stick with my gut and take the money.
Do you trust Marcus Mariota against this Buccaneer defense? That would be the only reason why I'd be leaning more towards the Bucks laying the 8.5. That's why I'll do it.
All right, moving on. Steelers at the Bills. The line of the week. The Bills are a 14-point favorite.
Okay, so
Yikes.
I'm gonna take the Bills, and I'm going to say that this is going to be my lock for the week.
Wait, as a favorite? As a cover?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Steelers haven't impressed me with Mitch Trubisky or with the other guy. Why am I blanking on his name?
Kenny Pickett?
Kenny Pickett? That's a tough line to take. Tough line.
It's a tough line, but this is such a tough spot for Kenny Pickett to make his first start as an NFL quarterback against arguably the best team, one of the best teams in football. Now, I know the Bills are banged up a little bit on defense, but again, TJ Watt, ever since he's been out, the Steelers have not looked good. I think Vegas is begging you to take the Steelers plus 14. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm taking the Bills minus 14. Give me the Buffalo 31-10 over Kenny Pickett and the Steelers.
So you're taking the cover. Okay.
I will lay the 14 and take the cover on this one. Yes.
I mean, It was only a matter of time before Trubisky was out. We knew that was going to happen. Kenny Pickett, the hometown quarterback, was eventually going to get the start. The only offense they really have is Najee Harris at this point. They don't really have a great wide receiver core. The Bills are the Super Bowl favorites right now. It's a big line. 2-touchdown line you don't see very often. But in this case, and it's early, right? We're not even a third through the season yet. But yeah, I'm going to take the money, but I think it's going to be very close to 2 touchdowns. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
You know what concerns me, Nick? If I was putting money on this game, the backdoor cover by Pittsburgh late in the fourth quarter. The Bills played prevent defense, and the Steelers scored 2 late scores late, and maybe make it like 31-18, 19, something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Cover. Yeah,
I wouldn't. All right. Of course, now the clown show begins. Dolphins at the Jets. The Dolphins are a 3-point favorite. Now, the one thing I will say, I don't know how they can be the favorite without Tua being out due to the concussion protocol.
And you know what? I'm going upset city for this one. I'm taking the Jets.
Yeah, I think the reason why the Dolphins are still favored is because you still do have, Tyreek Hill. You do have Jalen Waddle. You do have multiple guys at running back. Edmonds and Mostert, also Gesicki, the tight end. The problem is Teddy Bridgewater hasn't really played a lot in the last couple of years, so you don't know really what you're going to get. I'm gonna take a gamble here, and I'm going to take the Jets plus the 3. I'd be more comfortable if this was at 3.5, but I think the Jets have a little momentum going here. Of course, if you go to the side of history, they have not done well against AFC East opponents the last couple of years, but I think this feels different this year. Upset special number 2 for me. Give me the Jets plus 3.
I don't. Is this Vegas begging you to take the plus points? I don't know.
I think if there was another half-point tacked onto it, Nick, I think because then you could get inside of a field goal, then yes, but I don't know. It's close. I think if let's put it this way, if Tua was healthy and he'd be starting, I think you're looking at about 6.5, 7 with the Dolphins in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, if Tua was playing, there was no way I was taking the Jets at all.
Knocking at your door like a desperate vacuum cleaner salesman.
But with no Tua, I think it's a different team. I just think it's a different dynamic. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm taking the Jets plus 3. I can't believe I'm saying it, but yes.
But see, you can believe.
It's questionable.
I've taken the Jets twice this year as an underdog, and they've won both times.
I just, I don't know. Anyway, what's next? Bears at the Vikings. The Vikings are a 7-point favorite.
Justin Fields did not look good last week against the Giants, even though it wasn't really his fault that they lost. But I think that the Vikings are going to play well enough to win, but I don't know if they're going to cover.
Oh, I absolutely think the Vikings will cover in this one. The Bears are playing a 1950 style football right now in 2022. It doesn't work. I mean, if you like that kind of football, go watch Army and Navy. But that's entertaining football, at least there at the end of the year. But that kind of football doesn't work. I think they showed Fields has thrown the ball 34 times all year in the first 4 weeks. I mean, you've got to do more than that if you're going to battle with the Vikings, Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson. This is at least a 2-score game in my book. Give me Minnesota laying the 7. Take the money.
Yeah, for this one's my lock. And the reason I say this one is my lock is because Justin Fields looks terrible. He looks really bad. Is Montgomery still out?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, not that it matters. Justin Fields can't throw the football or do anything offensively. And the Vikings just have way too many offensive weapons for Chicago to play defensively. This is totally a lock for me. And I agree with you. I think they're going to win by 2 scores. All right. Moving on to a crappy game. Titans are a 2.5-point favorite at the Commanders.
I'll take that because you know what? One team has to be less shitty than the other, and it's a coin flip. But I'll take the Titans.
Oh God, this is a must miss TV game during week 5.
It's true. Yeah.
I don't like Tennessee. Any of the things they've done. Washington at least had a little bit of life in week 1. I'm taking Washington. I'm sorry. I just don't like Tennessee. I just don't like anything that Tennessee has done this year.
Do the sacks concern you with Carson Wentz, though?
They do, but I mean,
because his offensive line is not keeping him on his feet.
It's not. But God, this is such a tough call.
They both stink.
No, you know why? I'm going to take the Commanders plus the 2.5, and the Titans will win 12-10. So
really?
Commanders plus 2.5.
Nick?
I said it's going to be the Titans.
Oh, you have the Titans? Oh, am I the tiebreaker?
Yeah, take the money. Yeah, take the money.
So this is just the battle of bad. This is the battle of bad. Two quarterbacks.
You got to coin flip it.
You need a coin flip.
Curious who actually is doing this game on Sunday.
I feel bad for whoever's calling that game, but I just can't go with the Commanders. Like Carson Wentz got sacked 9 times last week. 9 times.
So
okay.
So go with the Titans. Somebody has to win.
As much as I hate the Titans, I can't watch Carson Wentz get sacked 9 times again.
Watch this motherfucker end in a tie.
Andrew Catalon, James Lofton, Amanda Renner special on the NFL and CBS.
That's like the 6th team on CBS.
That's more of like the third. I think that's third.
I thought they were towards the bottom.
That's
it's toward. It's
more fourth string, but still pretty good.
It's towards the bottom, I'll say.
It's in the bottom half.
Yeah,
but they're still good though.
All right, moving on. Seahawks at the Saints. The Saints are a 5.5 point favorite. I'm tempted to take plus points here.
Question is who we seeing under center for New Orleans in this spot? Because if Jameis is under center, I almost would take Seattle plus the 5.5 in this spot.
I'm tempted to take Seattle just because of the way they're playing.
You know what?
Yeah,
that's what I'm
you have to remember though. Last week that was against the Lions team that was very banged up. Now, granted, they still played very, very well. I think this could be inside of a field goal. I would take Seattle plus the 5.5.
I think I'm going to do that too.
The Saints concern me. Is Alvin Kamara ever going to be normal again with his injuries? If they don't have Alvin Kamara, they can't win games. Michael Thomas was hurt last week. He didn't play in the game in London. So just based off of those injuries, I'm going to take Seattle plus the points just because I think Geno somehow figured out how to do it.
I mean, it's a valid point.
So I think we're all Seattle plus points there. Yeah. All right, moving on. Niners at the Panthers. The Niners are a 6.5 point favorite on the road.
I think the Niners could, if they can duplicate what they did on Monday night, I would say they got a pretty good chance of winning this game.
Yeah, they got a thing that would concern you. Short week going across the country, but it's not a 1:00 Eastern game. This is a 4:05 kickoff between these two. Carolina is just an absolute mess right now. And against that 49er defense, I mean, Baker may not make it through the full game if he's going to continue to be the 31st best quarterback completion percentage. Give me the 6.5. Take the money with San Francisco, Nick.
Yeah,
take the money.
This is the most obvious game, and you could have locked on this game too, really, to be honest. But take the money because Baker Mayfield might get knocked on his ass and not get up again. All right. Eagles at the Cardinals. The Eagles are a 5.5 point favorite on the road. The Eagles are the best team in the NFL right now.
So I think this isn't the test for the Eagles. So I think this is going to be fairly easy for them. So I'm going to go ahead and take the money.
That Eagles defense is very, very good too. We all know that Kyler Murray's got to pretty much do it all for the Cardinals to have a chance, but I don't think it's going to be enough here. I mean, even if the Eagles win, let's say 31-25, that's a cover for me. So give me Philadelphia laying the 5.5.
I mean, you still don't have Hopkins yet. Which
they're trying to tread water there in Arizona until he's eligible to return.
I don't even know if that makes them 100% better again, because they would still have to figure out the chemistry there.
Improve them a little bit, yeah.
But I don't know. The Eagles are the better team. I'm going to stick with the Eagles right now. Take the money. All right, moving on. Two interesting teams playing one another. The Cowboys at the Rams. The Rams are a 4.5-point favorite.
Now, I don't like what I've seen out of the Rams the past couple of games. So, you know what? I think I'm going to go upset city. I'm going to say the Cowboys are going to get this one.
I don't know if the Cowboys will win, but I think they could keep it inside of a field goal. I'll grab the 4.5 with Dallas in this spot.
The Cowboys are an interesting situation with Cooper Rush still starting. All the pressure of Dak being on the way back. The Rams are injury prone. Matt Stafford did not look good on Monday night at all. He looks hurt. He's got 4 touchdowns and he's got like 10 picks. He doesn't look like the same quarterback the year winning the Super Bowl. They have an interesting situation with their wide receiver situation. He's only throwing to Cooper Kupp and no one else, and that's a problem. Allen Robinson is not getting open. Van Jefferson is hurt. They still have Odell Beckham Jr.'s locker in the locker room, thinking they're going to get him back. And I have an interesting story for that. I did a ETB Sports Minute on it, where Odell Beckham Jr. was at the Giants facility. And everyone was speculating that, oh, well, maybe he wants to be back in a Giant uniform. But I think the Rams are the more speculative team.
I know, but you know what? It was enjoyable for a couple of hours, thinking that could be a possibility.
Who knows? But at this point, I don't like the Rams. The Rams are a little scary to me. I'm actually going to take the upset and take the Cowboys 4.5 plus 4.5. So, all right, here we go. Bengals at the Ravens. The Ravens are 3.5 favorite.
Ooh.
Yeah, this one's going to be close. It looks like the Bengals are starting to find their stride a little bit here.
The Bengals are a disappointment, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, look, this is a golden test for them right now. If they could win this and go to 3-2. Baltimore, their defense is not that sharp. I mean, I know they did. I know Lamar's playing out of his mind right now, but man, I'm gonna do this hesitantly, but I'm gonna take the Ravens.
I think I'm gonna take the money as well, because I think that Lamar Jackson is playing out of his mind right now, and it's gonna be can Burrow match that up, and I don't know if it can.
I mean, like Thomas said, originally he said don't disrespect the Bengals. Well, you know what? I am disrespecting the Bengals because they look horrible. What is going on with Jamar Chase? No one knows what's going on with Jamar Chase. Why is Burrow not throwing him the football? Well, it's a big deal. He's the number one.
It's like the Tootsie Pop commercial, Mr. How many licks does it take to get to the bottom?
Well, we have to remember too.
Jamar Chase.
Burrow had no preseason or any sort of action to really get ready for the start of the year because he had that appendectomy right at the start of training camp. So
yeah, but most quarterbacks don't play anyway in the preseason.
No, I know, but when you have that appendectomy, you don't even get a chance to do anything in training camp or anything. I mean, it does take you a little bit of time to get yourself into rhythm here. But I think this is going to be like a 31-27 final, but that's still good enough for me to take the money.
What scares me, and we talk about this all the time, now that quarterbacks and the starters that have been veterans for years, they don't play in the preseason. What happens in the first couple of weeks? There's a lot of soft tissue injuries.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
And they're very rusty too, and I think that's another reason. Look, you were just talking about him a moment ago, Nick, with Matt Stafford.
Right. So the Bengals are scary to me. I think they're going to win by a touchdown at least. So yeah, I would take the cover. All right, here we go. So that was Sunday Night Football. This is Monday Night Football. Raiders at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a 7-point favorite.
Yeah, I love Kansas City in this one. Raiders have had problems in the early going here. I don't think this matches up well for them going to KC. I mean, maybe you worry about the old cover in this spot, but I'm not going to do it. Look, you still have the best quarterback in that division at home in prime time on national TV. Chiefs by at least 2 scores.
I'll take the Chiefs. I'll take the Chiefs, but I think it's going to be the line is going to be the line. So take the money.
Well, all right, you could say cover, but yes, I think the Chiefs are they look a lot better. Mahomes looks better now. I think that was a key game against the Bucs and Tom Brady getting to beat a big name. I think that's the wake-up call that the Chiefs really needed. I don't know what's up with the Raiders. The Raiders are going to be the upset team of the season, in my opinion. So I would take them to cover, and I think they're going to win. I think they could win by a couple touchdowns. All right, so we made it to the end of the episode. Make sure you check us out on social media at ETB Sports across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make sure you check out Game On Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Game On ETB and at Game On _ETB as well. Anything you want to add, Nick, before we go?
Yeah, you pretty much hit it all.
Ton of new shows on the way as well for the network as well. Follow the network at ETB Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And yeah, let's have a good football weekend, and we'll see you back for episode 156. Hopefully we don't have any more technical issues.
Yeah.
It's great to be on with you guys tonight. Sorry Tom couldn't be there, but yeah, it was good. It was good to be on with you, and here's to a great weekend of sports. And then next week, we got the baseball playoffs starting. Hockey starts up next week, so it really gets ramped up again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the baseball playoffs. We probably will do MLB playoff previews next week for both shows. Yep. And the NBA will be back in a few weeks. And
weeks away, yeah.
It's that time of the year where you're basically going to see almost all 4 sports playing at one point.
The sports equinox, and also us getting little to no sleep, staying up watching all of this stuff.
Especially all those West Coast games. But for Johnny Montalbano and Nick Fodera, I'm Nick Morgasen. This was episode 155. We will see you next week for episode 156. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night, folks.